After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
What's going on, gang? Welcome to another episode of Habs After Dark. My name is Devin, as you know, and this is going to be a bit of a preseason version, an abbreviated version of Habs After Dark. We're going to talk about tonight's rookie showcase game between the Montreal Canadiens rookies and the Winnipeg Jets rookies. 4-3 final in favor of the Jets. A bit of a deceptive final score. The Montreal Canadiens, I think, were the better team tonight. The shots, I believe, finished somewhere like 41 or 42 to 23 or 4. So the Canadiens were dominant pretty much throughout the entire game. Goals for the Canadiens by, let's see, what do we have here? We have goals by, of course, Florian Jacki, Oliver Kapanen, and Ivan Demidov. The goals from the Jets came from 2 goals from Zhilkin, a goal from Yoder, a goal by Barlow for the 4-3 final. The Canadiens were able to tie the game up late in the third period on a goal by Demidov. Demidov got sent in alone on a pass by Florian Jacki and was able to beat the Winnipeg goaltender, who was essentially standing on his head to keep the team in the game throughout. But unfortunately, shortly thereafter, with about 25 seconds left in the game, the Winnipeg Jets scored the game winner, the second goal of the game by Zhilkin from Yoder and Barlow. Tonight, we had Demidov with a goal and 2 assists. Kapanen, I believe, ended the game with also a goal and 2 assists. Jacki ended the game with 2 assists. So that number one line, if we want to call it that, was certainly the dominant force for the Canadiens tonight. Marc-Antoine, bonjour, thank you. I thought Jacki played really well tonight as well. We're not going to do a full version of Habs After Dark, but we are going to do an A team. It's hard to do a full version of Habs After Dark because there was no official stat line. There's nowhere to go and look up the stats like we normally would during a regular season game. So we're not able to do that. So we're just going to do an A team here. If you have any questions about the game, if you want to talk about the Canadiens, certainly welcome to do that. Again, this is a show that we do after every Canadiens game. Again, it's going to be a bit of an abbreviated version here tonight on YT. If you're over on TikTok, come and join us on YT. Ask us some questions over here. But this is our regular post-game show. But this, again, will be a bit of a preseason abbreviated version of it. Again, the Canadiens lose 4-3. If you're new here, welcome. Please feel free to ask your questions in the comments section. If you're not yet subscribed, you can do so below. There's a button down below. Hit the notification bell. If you're watching in a replay, the same applies. We would love to have you part of our community here. Love for you to be part of our group. We try to bring you some objective, thought-out discussion with respect to the Canadiens and the team, the NHL, the league, and whatever. And it's usually a good time, but we try and stay away from some of the the rumors and the sensationalism and all of that kind of stuff. So tonight, again, really exciting to be back watching hockey for the first time this year. Of course, with the Montreal Canadiens, a rookie showcase game is all the more exciting because they are so prospect heavy. Being in a rebuild, the team is in a scenario where their prospects are a big part of the organization, and it is fun to watch them play because there are so many exciting young players in the organization who are on their way to the NHL, and so tonight was no exception. Of course, we got to see Jacki, Demidov, and Kapanen in particular, Fowler as well, Reinbacher, Beck, Thorpe, a number of these young players who we've been following for some time now, and it's always fun to see them on the ice, even if it is in a preseason match like this. Bonjour Antoine, ça va bien? Welcome to the show, as always, guys. Thank you for being here. I see there's about 10 or 11 guys watching. If you haven't given us a thumbs up and you do enjoy the content, please hit that thumbs up button. That will help us as well. We're about 50 people away, 50 subscribers away from getting that magical 500 number. So if you haven't subscribed yet, then that would be great as well. So again, like I said, the Canadiens dominated this game from the very beginning. They opened the scoring at the 7:19 mark on a goal by Florian Jacki. The goal was set up by a really nice play by Ivan Demidov off the faceoff. He went to the net, was able to get to the net. Unfortunately, wasn't able to finish the play himself, but the puck was left sitting there for Florian Jacki, who was able to stuff it home past the Winnipeg Jets goaltender. The Canadiens then went up 2-0 at 10:52 of the second period on a really, really nice power play goal. Reinbacher with the puck at the point makes a nice pass to Demidov, and Demidov with a one-touch pass cross the ice, cross the the Royal Road, as they refer to the Royal Road, gets it cross ice to Kapanen, who one times it and again beats the DiVincentis, I think is his name, was the Winnipeg goalie tonight. Power play goal, and the Canadiens again dominating at that point, basically doubling the Jets in shots and up 2-0. Unfortunately, shortly after that, the Canadiens had a bit of a nap and allowed 2 goals in 16 seconds. Goals by Zhilkin and Yoder. The first one by Zhilkin on the power play, a shot from the top of the circle that likely should have been saved. It was Fowler had come out of the net and was replaced by Vikvaneks at that point. Vikvaneks was unable to save that shot from Zhilkin from the top of the circle. Then, like I said, 16 seconds later, Chase Yoder goes in all alone on a breakaway. Well, I shouldn't say that. Went in all alone. It wasn't a breakaway, but it was an individual play. Beats David Reinbacher and then goes in on the goalie all alone, and Vikvaneks just wasn't able to make the save. And all of a sudden, the score was tied, despite the fact that the Canadiens were, carrying the play in every single possible aspect up to that point. Third period, the Jets take the lead on a goal by Cody Barlow, and then they're carrying the play. Not carrying the play. The Canadiens are still carrying the play, but they're leading the game at that point. And then Demidov scores a very pretty goal with about 5 minutes left in the game. He takes a pass in the neutral zone from Florian Jacki, chips the puck past the defenseman, goes in all alone on DiVincentis, and is able to beat him with a really nice play. Looks like we're going to go to overtime at that point. Things are looking pretty good. But unfortunately, the Canadiens give up a goal with about 25 seconds left in the game to Zhilkin. Again, his second goal of the game from Yoder and Barlow. Again, the Canadiens have their best players on the ice. Jacki's on the ice. Demidov's on the ice. Reinbacher's on the ice. Like all of their better players are on the ice. And that's all she wrote. 25 seconds. The Canadiens did get a couple scoring chances after that, but they weren't able to complete them. And the final score ends up 4-3 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. So we have Marc-Antoine, we have Antoine Bouchard. Comment as-tu trouvé le deuxième gardien qui a joué la deuxième moitié du match? J'ai trouvé que Jacob Fowler a très, très bien joué. Il a arrêté 10 lancers, tous les 10 lancers qu'il a vus. Je pense que pour moi, Vikvaneks aurait dû arrêter le premier but des Jets, le lancer de Zhilkin à l'auteur du cercle. Mais les autres deux buts qu'ils ont comptés contre lui, je pense qu'on ne peut pas donner le blâme sur le gardien sur ces 2 buts. C'est certain que Jacob Fowler a été le meilleur gardien pour le Canadien ce soir, mais c'est difficile de blâmer Mikaš Vikvaneks pour ce match. Je sais qu'il a laissé compter 4 buts, mais 3 des 4 buts, pour moi, c'était difficile de demander à lui de les arrêter. It's going well, Antoine. So just to give you that in English, guys, I thought that Fowler was fantastic tonight. Obviously, Vekvanek's allowing 4 goals doesn't look great from his perspective. But again, I think 3 of those 4 goals were goals that, it would have been hard to expect him to make those saves. The first goal, of course, I think he probably should have had the shot from the top of the circle, even though it was on the power play, was one that, you would have expected a goalie to make that save. But otherwise, I think, it's pretty hard to put the blame on Mikas Vekvaneks for this loss or for those goals. So, guys, that's pretty much all she wrote. It's kind of hard to do a full episode of Habs After Dark, like I said earlier, because there is no statistical, there's nowhere to go and look at the stats for this game. We know the Canadiens were 1 for 4, I believe, on the power play tonight, and they killed. I think they allowed 1 goal on 3 power plays. So that was, that was interesting. So, Renaud Baillargeon, bienvenue. I think you're new here. Je pense que c'était nouveau ici, Renaud. Bienvenue. Demidov a été très dominant. Plusieurs gros feeds qui auraient pu se concrétiser à Florian. Quelques choix entre autres. Oui, c'est sûr. Je pense que pour moi, Demidov a été exactement comment j'aurais expect. Il a joué de façon que je croyais qu'il était capable de jouer. C'est certain qu'il a été le meilleur joueur sur la glace. C'est le meilleur. Il a le plus de talent. Et il a démontré ça ce soir. Il a joué comment on aurait dû. What's expect? C'est quoi expect en français? J'ai perdu ce mot. Il a joué comment on aurait pensé qu'il aurait joué. Alors, il était excellent. Mais pour moi, il aurait dû être excellent. Parce que s'il n'était pas été excellent, ça aurait été décevant pour moi. Alors, il a joué, il a les demandes de lui, il a joué aux demandes qu'on avait pour lui. Florian Jacquet, très bien joué aussi. Oliver Kapanen, il y avait plusieurs joueurs qui ont très bien joué ce soir. Et, même s'ils ont perdu 4-3, c'est certain que les joueurs des Canadiens ont été les meilleurs joueurs ce soir. The Canadiens were the better team tonight, even though they did go down 4-3. They were the better team. There's really ce qu'on attendait, c'est ça. Les attentes de lui on attendait qu'il aurait été le meilleur joueur sur la glace. Alors, il a démontré que c'est vrai, c'est le meilleur joueur. Alors, il a vécu les attentes qu'on avait de lui. The Canadiens were the better team. Ivan Demidov was dominant, as Renaud points out. But that's what we would have expected from him, right? He's playing against guys who just really can't, compete with him. He's that much better than everybody at that level, right? He's a guy who, is going to, more than likely, almost certainly start the season in the NHL and play the entire season in the NHL and be hopefully productive at that level. So, you would expect him to be dominant when it comes to, players who are, in his age range, right? He's going to be dominant at that level. If you're going to be good enough to, to start the season and play the season in the NHL, you would expect to be, if you're favored to win the Rookie of the Year, you would expect a guy to be that good. And he was, he met every expectation and even then some perhaps. And he was really, really good. So that's a good segue to get into our A-team guys for tonight. Let's do that. So the A-team guys is one of our regular features here on Habs After Dark. Basically, our version of the 3 stars. In this case, the 4 best players of the game for the Canadiens. Again, Ivan Demidov at the top of the list. as we mentioned, as I mentioned, Demidov was the best player on the ice. He was the dominant player, for either team. But that's what you would have expected from him. So I kind of gave some consideration to possibly leaving him off the list for that reason alone, because yes, he was awesome, but you expect him to be awesome. But he was. So, he was by far the best player. And, I definitely, I don't think, it's hard to leave him off that list. Oliver Kapanen, also, again, you would have expected him to be one of the better players as a guy who played a number of games for the Canadiens last year, played in the Swedish Elite League, and was a pretty dominant player there, playing against grown men in a professional setting. You would expect him to be a pretty good player when it comes to playing against, players his own age, younger players, rookies, prospects, whatever. I think the guy who stood out the most as far as going above and beyond what you would have expected from him, being a guy who, again, we all know he's a good player, but, who played, who really stood out, even beyond the expectations you would have from him, I think was Owen Protz. Just a physical force out there, throwing his body around, several really big hits, but again, not a guy who was running around, not a guy who was running around chasing guys, looking for hits or whatever. He took the hits when they came to him, and he certainly punished guys on a number of occasions during that game, and certainly held his own as far as defending as well. I thought he looked quite good. Probably one of the better defensemen on the team tonight. I thought Reinbacher, didn't have his best game ever. I thought he looked really, really good at times, but he was on the ice for a couple of goals against. The breakaway or the solo effort goal by Yoder, the second of the two goals in 15 seconds. Reinbacher was victimized a little bit on that play. And then on the final goal of the game, he was on the ice for that as well. So, but Owen Protz, I thought, looked really, really good. He's going to be an interesting guy to watch develop over the next little while. And of course, the final, as you see there, the final member of tonight's A team is Jacob Fowler. Again, another guy who you would have expected to be pretty dominant and to play quite well, and he did. Right? He lived up to his expectations. He's a guy who is in some circles is viewed to be the top goalie prospect in the NHL, certainly in the top three, and he was great. He didn't face a ton of shots. Obviously, I think he had 10. I believe it might have been 11, but I think it was just 10 shots. He played the first half of the game, and he stopped all 10 of those shots against. I think there were a couple of pretty challenging shots. There was a power play that he was on the ice. He was in nets for, and made all of those saves. So again, not a very super challenging game for Fowler, but he stood up to the shots he faced. You can only stop the shots that they take. You can't complain about that, and he did everything that you would ask of him in that effort. So I thought Fowler looked really good tonight. Very, very technically sound, as you would expect. He's a technically sound goalie, and you could tell that those technical aspects of his game were very evident tonight, and certainly served him well. And he was able to perform quite well and make those 10 saves that he had to have. He left the game. The score was 2-0. And then, of course, the final score ended up being 4-3 in favor of the Jets. So he certainly did his job tonight. And I don't think there's, again, if you're looking at guys, I think one of the things we can take away from tonight's game is that the players you would expect to be the best players on the ice were the best players on the ice, like Demidov, Kapanen. Jack Guy, I think, probably is another guy who could be on this list, this A-team list. And isn't. Unfortunately, we can only have 4, and if we had 5, Jack Guy would probably be that fifth guy. He obviously had a goal and a couple of assists, or a goal and an assist, and he looked quite good as well. But again, this was a game where the Canadiens played well. The guys who you would expect to be their best players were their best players, and it was just a matter of it was actually kind of reminiscent a little bit of last year's Canadiens, like the NHL Canadiens, right? In that they played a bit of an immature game where they kind of let their foot off the pedal a little bit at certain times. They allowed the 2 goals in 16 seconds, which was something that we saw from the Canadiens in the first half of last year. It was one of those things where a little bit of immaturity where you let off the gas. There's a little bit of a letdown there, and you let a bad situation turn into a worse situation, right? You allow the power play goal. Well, that's okay. You can allow a power play goal, but you have to then tighten up instead of sort of letting down, and then all of a sudden now it's tied because you've allowed another goal right away after that first one. And you've had a bit of a letdown there, and that's kind of that immaturity was something that we saw from the NHL Canadiens, the big league team, if we want to call them that, last year. But that was a maturity that they had to overcome, and they certainly overcame that in the second half. But that's the sign of an immature team and the way that they they tend to play. And this was a young group, right? This is a young group. There's not a lot of veteran AHL or pro players in this group. It's mostly made up of younger junior players. Although certainly you have your guys like Demidov and Kapanen and Beck who have significant NHL experience. But that's kind of what I take from this game is that the Canadiens were the dominant team for probably 55 or 56 minutes of the 60-minute game, but it was that 4 or 5 minutes that really cost them. And they just they put the pressure on and pushed the pressure on, and the Winnipeg goalie certainly had a spectacular game and was able to meet the challenge to keep the Canadiens at bay and weather that storm. And then all of a sudden, boom, the Jets would score a quick goal. So. The Jets goalie was certainly the MVP of probably the entire game, but certainly the best player for the Jets tonight. So there is your A team. Like I said, is Demidov, Kapanen, Protz, and Fowler, with an honorable mention certainly going to Arbor Jackeye. I thought that Tyler Thorpe looked pretty good out there tonight as well. The Canadiens looked like a good physical team. They had a couple of really, there's a couple of guys out there, some big monsters. For the Canadiens, Tyler Thorpe, Jackeye, Protz, Reinbacher, they certainly held their own on the physical side of the game, and I thought overall it was a other than not getting the win, it was a pretty decent performance. Again, coming back to tie the game on the Demidov goal is a sign of a team that's pushing really hard and really putting in that effort to win. But then, you have that letdown a little bit, thinking you're going to overtime and, the last minute of the game, you're just kind of like, let's just get through this. And then all of a sudden, boom, the puck's in the net, 25 seconds left and the game's over and you lose. So I was kind of looking forward to, honestly, to seeing what Kapanen and Demidov would look like in a 3-on-3 power play or 3-on-3 overtime. I thought that would have been fun, but unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. Arbor was not playing. His brother Florian was playing VC. Engstrom was smooth, looks better than Matheson at both ends. Again, that's a crazy comment. Engstrom looks great. He's a great young prospect, but again, to suggest he's better than Matheson, I think is pretty wild thing to say. Again, I know that there's a narrative about Matheson that's not really factually supported. Matheson is a great hockey player. He obviously makes mistakes. He plays a ton of minutes, and because he's on the ice as much as he is, he makes mistakes. But Matheson has been a net positive, net very positive for the Montreal Canadiens since he joined the team. And the suggestion that again, Engstrom's great, and I think he's probably got a pretty good runway in front of him, and he probably has a good career coming up. But to suggest that at this stage of their careers there's any comparison between the two of those players, I think is kind of, I think you're kind of fooling yourself a little bit on that one. So, yeah. So that's going to be pretty much it for tonight, guys. I think, like I said, this is just going to be an abbreviated version of the show. We're not in the preseason. We're not going to do full shows. It's kind of hard to do a full show because we don't have access to stats the same way we do in the regular season and the playoffs. So that's going to be pretty much it for tonight. As I said earlier, if you're not yet subscribed, we'd love to have you guys join our family, join our group here. What we try and do here at Recliner Sports is we try and have, intelligent, objective conversations about the Canadiens and hockey. We try and stay away from some of the, the sensationalized takes and the false narratives that are kind of common, unfortunately, when it comes to hockey these days. There's a lot of people that need to find something to talk about, and we get talking about a lot of different crazy stuff. But here we try to keep it a little bit more on the rails and be a little bit more intelligent about it. Again, I'm not saying that I always succeed at that, but again, I'm trying to stay away from the clickbaiting and getting into some of the ridiculous sensationalized rumors, and just keep things to the the real stuff. So if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. Join us if that sounds interesting to you. Si vous voulez nous joindre, poussez sur le bouton en bas, souscrire à l'émission, à notre channel, Recliner Sports. On fait cette émission Habs After Dark, Bleu, Blanc, Rouge Nuit. That's what I call the show in French. Bleu, Blanc, Rouge Nuit. Après chaque match des Canadiens, cette année, on va avoir une émission où on va parler au sujet des Canadiens, au sujet de la match. So if that's interesting to you guys, like I said, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell, give us a thumbs up. If you're watching in a replay, same applies. Again, I'm excited. First game of the year. It sold out a Bell Center on for a rookie showcase game on the 13th of September. Again, it just shows you the energy that's going on in Montreal right now with this team. And I look forward to seeing what that leads into as the season progresses. Dreams, goalie was very young and weak. Things would have been very different if they would have kept Fowler in nets. I think things would have been different if they would have kept Fowler in nets. But again, I find it hard to blame at least, two of those goals. I don't think you can really blame Vanek for those. But who knows? I mean, obviously, there's it's not about just making the save. It's also about, would you have been in a better position to make that save? So a goal that looks like it was like a no-brainer, might not have been a no-brainer if the goalie was better prepared for the shot. So I think that Vanek certainly was, obviously the weaker of the two goalies for the Canadiens tonight. There's no doubt about that. But again, I think I would, rather than blame Vanek for that, I would sort of blame it more on the mental lapses that resulted in 2 goals in 15 seconds in the second period, and then that sort of letdown goal with 25 seconds left in the game when the Canadiens were kind of cruising into the end of the game, thinking that they'd sort of tied it up and we're looking to move to overtime. So yeah, so that's going to be it for tonight, guys. I do appreciate all of you. Like I said, subscribe. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, all of that good stuff. We are trying to get to 5,000. I'd love to get to 5,000 subscribers. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers right now. So please hit those buttons down below. Join our group, join our crew. We'd love to have you. It's a good time. We're going to do this every night. We'll probably we're going to do another episode tomorrow afternoon after the game against the Leafs. Hopefully we'll have a win to talk about. But again, hopefully more than anything, hopefully we'll have another strong performance from the young Montreal Canadiens rookie group like we had today. Despite the loss, I think it was a pretty positive game. I thought everybody, played quite well. I don't think there was anybody that really stood out as a negative tonight for the Canadiens. So in that sense, it was a positive. So that's it for tonight, guys. I hope you did enjoy the show. Like I said, if you did, like, subscribe, and follow, all that stuff. Hit the notification bell. And we will certainly see you in the next one tomorrow afternoon. Peace out.
Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, docks to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.